thank you all for inviting me back. It's been a whirlwind coming back here, I'll tell you that. It's a lot of fun. So what I'm going to talk about is operations in sports and kind of what I've done starting here at Ferris, going to Michigan, and then moving on to the Detroit Pistons. About me, obviously, this is exactly what I just said. Went from Ferris to Michigan to the Detroit Pistons. Here at Ferris, I did start as an usher for about a year. It was a lot of work trying to balance my first college job and also being a student and still trying to have a social life, as all you guys know. And something I left off, I also ran cross country here, only for about a semester before hurting myself, and then moving into more of an assistant coach's role. So I had a lot on my plate at the time, which kind of helped me to get to where I am today. After being an usher, I moved into the game day manager's internship role. The way I got through that was actually I was the VP at the time, and then the president at the time, Cam Howard, actually got me in touch with John Coles over the summer and got me this internship. So I kind of owe a lot to John, Dr. A, and Cam. What I did here is pretty much, as Colin knows, I set up all the sporting events. I dealt with the referees coming in. I dealt with the opposing teams coming in. If there's anything that needed to be done for John, I jumped through hoops to make it happen. I use this term in all my interviews I've used so far. When I was here at Ferris State, John Coles gave me a roll of duct tape and said, make a gold statue. And that's what I did. And I still do that to this day. You'll learn that it's not all the glitz and glamours in sports where it's all the $1,000 for one seat or something like that. You're going to take duct tape and you're going to make a gold statue. If you guys don't believe that, I promise you when you get more into it, if you win to operations, you'll notice that I pull things out of a hat every single day of my job. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now because we're the Detroit Pistons. We should be able to do this. So when I was here with John, he taught me a lot about using duct tape and a lot of smoke and mirrors and making things happen. So I really owe my hard work and dedication to this industry to John Coles. I spoke with him before he came in, and I told him how I felt, how I owe him a lot, and he doesn't believe it, but if you guys have the opportunity here at Ferris to get to work for John, I highly recommend it. You will, at the bigger university like Michigan and Michigan State, what I learned, you don't get to be as hands-on as you would like to be in sports and the athletic department. Here at Ferris, John needs help. He doesn't have a budget to go get 50 workers to do his one job. It's him, you, and a bunch of student workers. And you got to make it happen. I understand that you're a college student and you're trying to get through your day. You're like, oh my gosh, I got 4 classes today. I don't want to do this. But then you're like, oh, I have to go work a game tonight now. So you're going to learn working in sports that you're going to want to, there's a lot of things you're not going to want to do, and you're going to have to do it. And John taught me that very well here. There was times where I, unfortunately, Dr. A, plug your ears, I had to skip class to work for John, and a lot of times it was Dr. A's class, but luckily Dr. A was very kind to let me skip a couple classes to get the job done for John because, as you guys all know, Dr. A is a huge Ferris State hockey fan, a huge sports fan here, and she wants to see a beautiful product be put on the ice, the court, so she was very nice for me for that. As I said, I was the vice president and president here for 2 years of my time. I was also treasury for half a semester, and I look back now and I remember sitting in my first class seeing Dr. A going, why would someone want to do that? Why would we want to really put ourselves out there? But then I was like, you know what? She's right. This is the only way. They say when you go into college, you got to do those extracurricular activities, and I thought it was a joke, but honestly, it's true. If you guys aren't involved with the student organization here of sports careers, get involved. I mean, I've put that on every single resume that I've ever applied for, or every job resume I've applied for so far. And every single person, the first question is, what sports careers RSL? And I tell them, and they go, oh, that is really cool. Tell me more about it. And half my interview would be talking about that, and then talking about how hard I worked in it and at Ferris. So if you guys aren't in it, please get in it. It'll help you a lot, I promise. After graduating here in 2015 and leaving this beautiful, lovely campus that we all call home for 4 to 5 years, I went to the University of Michigan. At the University of Michigan, I walked into the interview a scared little boy. I'm not going to lie. I am a huge, as Aaron knows, I'm a huge Michigan fan. I bleed maize and blue, besides the crimson and gold here. So I was so scared sitting in front of these 4 high-ups at Michigan. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way they're going to pick a little low Ferris State guy. But when I started talking to them, they saw my enthusiasm, how much I loved what I did at Ferris, how much I wanted to continue my career in sports. I started out the conversation, says, hey guys, I'm extremely nervous. Can I have 1 second just say, this is like interviewing for the Hall of Fame for me. I love Michigan. I love it here. I want to be a maize and blue. I want to say go blue every Saturday. And they told me about a couple months after getting the job, they said, hey, you want to know what sold us? The day you said you wanted to scream maize and blue and you said this is like the Hall of Fame. They knew, even though I did not go there, I bled it and they wanted me and they saw my enthusiasm. And I will say I had a lot of fun in my 1 year there. What I did there is I was the closing facility manager. My typical hours was from, my days I worked was I would start on Wednesday and I'd work till Tuesday the next week. So I apologize, Friday to Tuesday. So I had Wednesday, Thursday off for my days off. And I worked 5 p.m. until 1, 2 in the morning. I saw nobody. I'm not joking. I didn't hang out with anybody. I got very low down on myself because I was so tired of not just being by myself. I'd work with 1 or 2 student workers, and my bosses, I'd walk in, I'd talk to them for a half hour, they would head home, and they were like, all right, have a good night, Nate, see you later. I was like, great, I'm alone for the next 4 hours until the workers come in for an hour, and then I'm alone again until 2 in the morning. But I would say it was an amazing experience. I met some cool people. I met Jim Harbaugh multiple times. That guy is an intense man. You think I'm kind of intense? This dude ratchets up by 20. He's awesome. So with closing the facility, what I did was pretty much when those guys walked out, I was the boss. I was the one in charge. I would come in while varsity practice or varsity hockey was on the ice. I would cut the ice in between their, about an hour in, I would cut the ice for 10 minutes, get off. They would do another hour skate. They'd get off, and then from that moment they get off until all the way until about 1 in the morning, I was cutting ice every hour for Pee Wee hockey at first, then went to high school hockey, and then went to club varsity, then club, and then women's club, and so on and so forth. And then from 1 to 2 in the morning, I had to go close up everything. So went around the whole arena, make sure everything was put away, locked all the doors, and I was by myself. It was some nights it was a little scary, you know. It's all dark in this massive old arena. You hear some little creaks and stuff, but it was cool to be there by myself, you know, just walking around a huge arena going, you know, I'm the guy, man. If something happens, it's me, but it was a lot of fun for me. Game days, during a game day, it would depend on if they wanted me for the game or if they wanted me for the morning shift. Morning shift, I would come in, set everything up for the facility. I'd go around the outside, even in the winter, clean up all the trash, make sure it looked presentable for if ESPN was coming for the day or if the Big Ten Network was coming in for the day. We had to make sure everything was spick and span. So that was my job in the morning, to make sure everything was in place. If I was the night guy, I would be on the ice, pushing nets, cleaning up in media timeouts. We go out there and clean the goalie crease up. And then one lowly game, I got to be the backup Zamboni driver during a varsity game, so that was pretty cool for me. That was my crowning achievement at Michigan. And if you have the opportunity to ever become a Zamboni driver, jump on it. Zamboni driving is so much fun. You don't lose it, I promise you. It's like riding a bike once you get used to it. At the new arena at Little Caesars, I talked to Al Sabaka, the wing Zamboni driver, and him and I, we'll sit there for an hour and just talk about the new Zamboni he just got in, or why the ice was not so good for the last game and everything like that. So if you have that opportunity, guys, recommend it. Highly recommend it. As I said, after 1 year, I got a little lonely. I missed my family. I wanted to move back from Ann Arbor. So I was looking online one day and I saw a traffic ops manager for the Detroit Pistons and Pal Sports Entertainment. And I went, Why not? Why not try? I got this far. Why not go to the next level and get into the pros? Isn't this what I'm here for? To get to the next level and get to a better position? So after applying and after, 6 interviews with the Pistons, I finally landed the traffic operations manager position. And I did the same thing. When I went in there, I told them, I said, the very last interview I had, it was with our VP of operations, our CO, and our CFO. And they asked me, why do you want to be here? Why do you want to be in a dark parking lot in the middle of January on a Tuesday? And I told them straight up, I said, hey, I get it. It's not the most glamorous job. It's not the most fun job. It's not inside the arena. But you got to remember, someone has to do stuff behind the scenes, and the glitz and glamour to me cannot be inside. It can be outside to me. It is working with the employees. It is getting down on my hands and knees and pushing a car out of snow or something like that. And that's what sold them. My enthusiasm again, my dedication of willing to go above and beyond, and the fact that I wanted to be in a dark parking lot. And they were like, you're crazy. I can't believe you want to do this. So what I did as the traffic ops manager for a year and a half was, on a non-event day, I would be scheduling. I was in charge of all hiring for the parking department. I was in charge of payroll. I was in charge of anything that had to do with parking. So buying cones, buying new flashlights for the employees, doing inventory. Believe it or not, it sounds weird, but inventorying and doing all that non-event stuff takes a long time. You're like, this will take me an hour. I'm sitting there 3 days later still doing this stuff. I'm like, holy cow, like this enough is enough. And interviewing 20 employees and only bringing in 3, that takes a lot out of you. You just look candidate after candidate, you go, all right, well, I get it's a part-time job, but you're not showing me enough. And while I was here at Ferris, I was claimed to be a great boss. At Michigan, I was one of the most favorited managers as well. And then when I got here for the Pistons, I actually took the retention rate from 56% to 78% in my 1 year, 1.5 years, there we go, employment there. I'm not a boss, guys. I don't try to tell people what to do. I don't try to make them do stuff I can't do. One thing I learned in this industry, you have to be a leader. You have to, I wore a suit and tie in the middle of the winter pushing cars out. That's what you got to do. You got to put yourself out there and you have to be a leader. And because of my leadership that I had at Ferris here, at Michigan, and at the Pistons, these employees saw it. They wanted to be around me. And that's what you guys got to do in this industry. If you guys want to be any type of manager, any type of leader in the sports industry, you guys got to be willing to work. That's one big thing that my boss has told me multiple times, that's one of the reasons he brought me in as well. Is he says, I see your work ethic, I see how hard you care about these employees, and that's why I hired you over the 150 other employees or 150 candidates I talked to. With my year and a half at the Palace, we also managed, have you guys heard of DT Music Theater? You guys hear about Meadowbrook on Oakland's campus and Freedom Hill and Sterling Heights? If you dealt with parking, guys, that was me. I managed all that. And trying to manage, also the Palace at the time, 4 venues with only 150 employees, Monday through Friday, or Sunday to Sunday pretty much, it takes a lot out of you, I promise. So if I ever talk to you, I apologize ahead of time because I was probably mad at you. You probably did something wrong and you don't know it. And you guys would never understand because the traffic flow there, it's so strategic, it's so to a T that it took me a half a year to understand it myself. So it's a lot of work. But what I did at DT, obviously Meadowbrook and Freedom Hill and the Palace, was obviously my whole job starting at 2 o'clock, from 2 o'clock until 2 in the morning, all I did was, if I was at the Palace, I'd sit and watch cameras. I would watch the traffic flow, people coming in and out, people walking around, calling my employees over the radio, hey, I want you to move cones here, move the traffic flow there. Road crew, pretty much our backbone, they would set everything up. Road crew, go take cones here, go do that, close this inbound lane. We shut down massive highways before. I mean, I've done it all. It's a crazy world out there in sports. So I didn't think in my day here I would be working on a highway, but there's some days I did it. I went out there with cones and barrels in a suit, put cones out and said, hey, no more cars, can't do it. At DTE, I would say DTE was the most fun of my time so far. I got to see some things. At DTE, I would stand on a massive perch. If you guys have all been there, have you guys seen the massive grass lot? That thing, we hand parked 2,500 cars there. And I'm talking hand parking every individual car with give or take 10 employees. I've done it myself with me and 3 employees, parked 2,500 cars in 2 hours. That was my main job at DT, was making sure that grass lot had enough space where 2 cars could come going both ways and had enough space so when it came to showtime of 7:30, right when show started, I had the last car getting parked in the back of that grass lot. That was my main job. And then so that'd be ingress. Egress at DT, we pretty much was a bear, I'm not gonna lie. Saw a lot of scary things out there, and I'll get to that. But pretty much trying to get everyone out of there orderly fashion without them getting into fights and to get too mad at each other was a pain, but I got it done. If you look right here, this is Van's Warped Tour. I actually took this picture on top of the Palace one during that long day. That day I would come in 4 in the morning, I would go home 2 in the morning the next day. I'd almost pull a 24-hour shift just to get that job done. Our day would start at 6 a.m. when letting cars on the lot, and we get done parking about 1 o'clock. I would give my employees shifts of half-hour breaks, and I never took a break. I got to eat 1 half hour, and in that half hour, I got a phone call. I had to go run back outside. I was so burnt, I was so tired, I was so hot, I hated that day. Looking back now, looking at all those cars and looking at all those people, it was so worth it. I had so much fun looking back now. Yeah, at the time I hated my life, didn't enjoy it, but looking back, it was a great experience and I loved it. So that's kind of an overview of what I did for traffic ops. Now, I'm assuming every single person in here has heard the Palace has closed officially. I have officially moved down to Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. I'm not as happy about it. I think overall it's a beautiful arena. I live in the Flint area. It was a 25-minute drive to the Palace. I'm looking at I've hit 3 hours to get to work one day. I've also tried to get home in the middle of a snowstorm, and it took me another 2.5, 3 hours after working 12-hour shifts. It's a bear on me, I'm not gonna lie. It's stressful, but that's something that I've learned and I've started to cope with. Jessica knows, my beautiful fiance over there, she knows how stressful I am, and she's talked me off some ledges sometimes because I've been so mad at this job. But I would not trade this job for anything, I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot of fun. So now as moving from traffic ops manager to logistics manager, it's been a big change for me. Before I dealt with one department and that was parking. I did nothing else. This is all I cared about was parking, parking, parking. And now being the one of 180 out of 3,000 employees that got to move with the Pistons, I've learned that now I'm a man of one, supposed to be of 10 pretty much. And what I do as a logistics manager is non-event days, I do shipping and receiving for the Pistons. On non-event days, I'm the only Detroit Pistons individual down at the new arena because they trust me, because they know how hard I worked, and they know if something goes wrong, I know what to do and I can take care of it because of my background between Michigan and here at Ferris. Also on non-event days, because we are not part of Olympia Entertainment, who is our counterparts, the Detroit Red Wings. They are the managers of Little Caesars Arena, the Fox, Comerica, and soon to be DT, Meadowbrook, and Freedom Hill. So my job has gotten 10 times harder. When before I wanted something done, I would do it. Now I have to jump through 4 executives and a owner of Chris Illich to get one thing done. It's a little painful, but it's a learning curve for all of us. So you'll see on here we have, just real quick, so this is the new Pistons court. This is at LCA. you'll see there's nothing around it. A lot of people don't think about that the court actually comes up and moves and everything, but this is what it looks like with nothing around it. So if it's a non-game day the day before, I show up to work looking like this. When I leave, it looks like that in the corner. That is my full job right now on a non-game day if the Wings are playing the day before and if I got nothing else going on. I got to make sure that court looks presentable for an ESPN game the next day. Oh, I apologize. I pointed at the wrong. It would have been the middle one down here. I apologize. I also deal with, I don't know, has anyone here heard of the new chair covers we are using at Little Caesars Arena? Yep, okay. So when you hear on, did you guys hear about on 97.1 or just, you just heard about?
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was issues with, it's so red as you can see.
Correct.
As opposed to the Palace where it's black.
Yep.
If people aren't there, it's glaring.
Yep.
So the chair covers are supposed to mask that.
Correct. So that poor sap that has to be in charge of putting those all on and storing them, it's this poor guy right here. Yes. Unfortunately, I have all those responsibilities on top of these chair covers.
Do they come off Red Wings games?
Yes, we do. So Friday we have a game. I will be going in at midnight, and I will leave at noon. If I have an assistant under me, if he can handle it, I will leave at noon. If not, I will be there until the start of the out of the chair covers that night at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So that could be my.
Why are they taking off?
Why?
The attendance is about the same.
Because the Detroit Red Wings have red seats and their jerseys are red, and they want, you don't see it as much, even though it's glaring. And unfortunately, our ownership said, I don't want to see those as, I love this, the Santa Claus suits out there when I watch a game. I want to mask it, like you said. The Red Wings, they want to see the red. They put the seats in there. Chris Ilitch is proud of it, which he should be. Honestly, if you look at it with no one there, I think it looks beautiful. I think it's awesome looking. But when you don't have a lot of attendance, you got to do something. So with logistics, I'm also in charge of obviously all these little projects. I'm also in charge of all of the storage at the new arena for the Detroit Pistons, where before each department handled their own storage. So now I am storing, so we have 6,900 square feet of storage. I manage it all. We're at the Palace. We had 5,000 square feet of storage, and each department managed it on their own. So my day-to-day has got so much worse, and it's very stressful to me, but it's okay, I promise. On a game day, before the chair covers came into play, what we did was if somebody had like an activation going on the concourse, like giving t-shirts out, giving water bottles out, I was the one bringing them over from storage, getting them in place, and if at the end of the day, if there was something like, hey, we had 2 boxes left over, I would go back and pick it up and take it back. My typical day then would have been 9 a.m. until after game for an hour after the game, so it could be 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. So to me, that was manageable. I was like, oh, this ain't that bad, you know. It's only 14 hours at an arena? It's not that bad. But now it's getting to the point where we're starting to level out, where we got comfortable, and they threw this little wrench in our system. So now my whole sleep schedule's off, my whole life is a little off, so I'm trying to work through that. But overall, as a logistics manager, what your full job would be if someone has a plan or an idea, your job is to make the plan. Your job would be to execute the plan and to see it all the way through. So that's what my job duty, I guess, would be now as a logistics manager. It's fun. If you guys ever get the opportunity to become a logistics manager, recommend it. You'll have a lot of stuff thrown on your plate. If you're good at seeing through projects, this is definitely up your alley. Myself, I'm a hard worker, and I like to accomplish a lot of goals. So this gave me a lot of meaning when I got this position. I really enjoy it. Besides the chair covers, but I don't want to talk about that anymore. All right, I'm going to talk about what it takes to be not just as a logistics manager, not just in Little Caesars Arena, but what it takes to be in the sports industry. Hard work. The number one thing I keep saying is hard work. If you're not willing to give it your 110% every single day you clock in the morning, it's not the job for you guys. And I'm not trying to scare you away from this job because I love the sports industry and I love being here, but you got to have hard work. You got to be willing to go out of your comfort zone. You got to lead by example. You got to get your hands dirty. You can't sit there and be, oh, I'm the logistics manager, I'm the traffic ops manager. I'm a manager. I don't have to do this. I tell people what to do. Yes, you manage employees, but you also have to be a leader and show them how to do it. So you got to have just got to have that drive. You really got to have a drive if you want to be in the sports industry. And I know Colin knows that John expects a lot out of you here, and other bosses in the sports industry will expect the same out of you. He didn't let me give him credit, but I understand my upbringing. I learned a lot from my mom and dad, where hard work was the only way to go. But John taught me even more about hard work. I saw that man give up countless weekends away from his 2 kids, his wife, and always put on a great show for the students and the community around here. And that right there taught me a lot, because I'm like, if this man with 2 kids and a wife can do it, I'm a student. Why can't I do it? So guys, you got to have hard work. Dedication, number 2. You got to dedicate yourself to this industry. If you guys really want to be in this industry, you have to tailor every single thing, I believe, to it. If you went and got a part-time job somewhere else, that's great. But if you really want to be in this industry, try and get into the athletic departments. Try and get internships with sports teams. Try. That's the only way. You gotta give your 110% into this industry. Every person that I've worked with, no one ever came to me and said, yeah, I started in sales at some company and then moved to this, and I just stumbled upon this job. It's every person I work with, they started at the bottom as a part-time person in this industry and worked their way up to a full-time, to a manager, to a director, to the VP. It's never been, I fell into this position. You guys gotta work at it, and you gotta dedicate your life to it. Next thing, you gotta take the initiative. As Dr. A calls, skate where the puck's gonna be. I believe if I am not 2 thoughts ahead of my boss, I have failed for the day. When my boss calls me and says, hey, is this taken care of? I go, that was done 2 hours ago. Don't worry about it, Steve, I'm moving on. You can't wait for someone to tell you what to do in this industry. The moment you stop and wait for someone to tell you something, you've failed for the day, and you're gonna fail that job, whatever you're doing in this industry. It's a fast-paced, moving industry. I remember sitting here listening to Ira Childress telling me, this is a fast-paced industry, and I'm like, at that time I wasn't the game day manager, or even I was an usher, and I'm like, well, it's not that fast. Looking back, I really heed his warning now. I'm like, holy cow, that man knows very much so that you have to be the last person to go to bed and the first person up, and you gotta be willing to think ahead of your boss, think of the next step, what you want to do. As the logistics manager down at Little Caesars Arena, I have 0 people there with me. I have 0 bosses, I have 0 VPs, I have 0 CEOs and CFOs standing over my shoulder making sure I get stuff done. I have to make sure when I clock in at 7 a.m. that I know, I'm like, okay, so we talked about this yesterday, I need to get this done today before he calls me at 9 a.m. today. I have most of my job stuff done by 10 o'clock in the morning, because from 10 to 3, 4 o'clock, I get phone calls, texts, emails, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I'm running around with my head cut off pretty much. And it's a lot of work. So you have to learn to take the initiative. And one thing I wish I had when I was in college was the initiative to do homework. So that's one thing I've learned. Once I started at Ferris and went to Michigan, I grew into that position, and hopefully you guys will heed my warning and start doing that yourself, and take the initiative and go do it without someone asking you to do it. Trusting the process. So here at Ferris, I sat there, my very first sports speaker series, listening to Ira, going, wow, how did this guy get there? how am I supposed to get there? I'm never going to get there. I'm a lonely college student at Ferris State. I'm never going to be anything. But I started listening to what he was saying about the dedication, the hard work, everything, and I really took it in, and I really applied it to my work schedule as an usher and slowly moving into the game day manager position. When I was here at Ferris, I was like, there's no way I'm going to land a big job. And then Michigan came around. I got that job, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. A couple months in, I was like, oh, this is getting a little rough. I'm having some ups and downs. What's the next step? Do I get out of the sports industry? Is this not for me? I second-guessed myself all the way through, and then I found this job at the Pistons. I got there, and I've been there since, and I've loved it. So you guys really, you have to, even when you're down and out and you think that there's no more, you don't want to do this anymore, just trust the process of life. Let it lead you, because it will lead you to great things, and that's what it's done for me today. Lost my train of thought. One moment. Alrighty. With trusting the process, your hard work will show. So all these things do connect with one another. The harder you work, the process will show itself, and you will move on and get into a position you want to be in. Willing to go above and beyond. This is kind of with taking the initiative, but pretty much comes back to what John Coles told me. Take duct tape and make a gold statue, guys. You got to go above and beyond. You got to work with what you don't have. That's what it takes. I could punch a clock. I could tell my bosses, hey, I've hit 80 hours this week. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. But I don't. I go above and beyond. I hit that 90-hour mark, and I continue to work harder than anyone else I work with, because I'm willing to go above everyone, and I'm willing to show my bosses and my owner that I'm the one that you want underneath you working, because I will be the best of the best, and I will take you to the next level. So you guys got to go to that. You got to go above and beyond. Willing to sacrifice. This is one thing I remember listening to. Oh gosh, I don't remember who I was listening to here, but they were telling me about how they kind of sacrificed a lot, and what I learned from John. You're going to sacrifice a lot, guys. You're going to give up your family and friends for some time, as in you're not going to be able to see them and talk to them every single day. There's times where I don't talk to my family for weeks on end because I'm putting in so much work. I don't get to go home. There was one day last week I didn't go home after a shift. I stayed at the arena and continued to work and took a nap and then got back up and continued to work. You're going to, in this industry, you will sacrifice a lot that you don't think you could, but you will. You'll notice that you tried to give it your all, but then you find that next gear and you go to that next gear and you gave more. You're willing to go, like I said before, above and beyond. So, like I said, a lot of these run in together because this is what it takes to be in the sports industry. Unfortunately, I've sacrificed a lot so far at the age of 25. I've missed, I stayed up here during a lot of holidays to work for John. I've missed a lot of holidays with my family. I've gone back to work the day after Christmas. I've worked the night of Christmas. I've done a lot of things that I wish I didn't have to, but I want to be in this industry, and you're going to have to sacrifice for it. And the last thing, don't allow anyone to stand in your way. So when I was here at Ferris, I was not the greatest student. I did not have the best grades, and I didn't let that stand in my way. I didn't let my high school teachers who told me, you're not going to be the best person ever. You're going to end up at a 9 to 5. You're not going to do what you want to do. And I took that into college, and I took that into the workforce, and I use it as my drive every single day, where I am better than what I ever thought I would be. I remember my senior exit project in high school. I told my teacher, hey, this project doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to amount to much. And that next day, I thought to myself, I should have never said that. I need to be better for myself, and that's honestly what I did. I mean, look at me now. I'm very proud of myself that I'm with a great organization, and that's what you guys got to do. You can't let anyone stay in your way. If you have friends that are holding you back, going, hey man, don't go to work today, let's go out and party. Hey man, like, don't do that homework, let's go do this. Instead, don't let them stop you. Put yourself out there, go the extra mile, do the extra thing to get things done right so you can become the person you want to be, that you see yourself in 5 years. I learned here at Ferris that I worked really hard, I also partied hard. And I kind of, once I got out of here, I look back and I go, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done that as much. Maybe I would have been a little better at my job. So I let myself even slow myself down. So you can't really let yourself do that. You guys got to go above and beyond, and you can't let anyone stay in your way. All right, one moment. I'm going to show you guys. Oh shoot. So this is the home opener at Little Caesars Arena for the Detroit Pistons. What I'm going to show you is what I experience every single day. So when I'm 12 hours into my shift and I still have 8 to go, I watch this every single home open, or every single day. I get to see this intro, and it really gets me going for the day to continue, gets me back up to where I'm ready to continue on for these next 8 hours when it's already 7 o'clock at night.
It's all about the mentality of coming back. Our toughness, the things we've gone through, our ability to work through anything. That's the power of our city. This opportunity to be in the center of everything that's happening, this is going to give us an edge. Our opponents, whoever they are, they're going to know what we're made of. This is our house. Detroit basketball is back.
So every single game we do this introduction, and that helps me get through my day, guys. That pumps me up every single time. My boss tells me every day, he goes, do we really have to sing out here and watch this? I go, yeah, this helps me, man. Let me enjoy my time here. So you guys got to find the little things in your job and to really enjoy it. So I'm actually going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the sports industry. So these are kind of just some little things that, these are my opinions and something that you should maybe just kind of listen to if this is kind of what you want to go into. So I enjoy going to work on most days. I don't have a job. I have a career. I'm proud of my career. I don't punch a clock 9 to 5. My hours are so different, and I love it. I love the diversity of my job. I couldn't ask for a better organization, a better job to have at the moment. Hopefully, I'll move up a little in a couple of years and get a better job. But right now, I couldn't ask for it. So if you guys get in this industry, find the niche, find the job you want. Don't settle. Always go above and beyond to get that next better job. 2, your office is an arena or a concert venue. How awesome is that? typically the job goes to a office building, a school building, something like that. I get to pull into our parking garage and look at this brand new arena every single day I go to work. And it blows my mind that people are paying me to do this job, because I would do this job almost for free because I love it so much. And when you're in an office space and you can't really do much and you want to walk around, you just literally, you get up, you walk out to the arena and you look around. And every time I do it, I look up and my eyes just get wide-eyed and I just go, wow, this is so cool. I cannot believe this is where I'm at. I'm in the mecca of sports in Detroit right now, and there's no better way. So that's another great thing when you're in sports, is you get to work in an arena every single day. It's not these little cubicles that you see on TV and everything. You're part of a team. You're not only part of your coworkers. You're not only a part of like your boss and everything like that. You are part of a team. I'm part of the Detroit Pistons. When I got hired in with the Pistons, the VP of operations said to me, "Welcome to the NBA, welcome to Detroit." And I went, holy cow, that is so cool. I'm in the NBA finally. I'm in a professional sport. So you guys don't believe, you think it's funny, but I promise you guys, every single person in the organization is a part of this team, and each person has a part of it. I understand the 15 guys go out there, and they are the ones that are scoring the baskets, getting the rebounds, but if it wasn't for me, the camera platforms wouldn't get done, so they wouldn't be able to be televised. I mean, it's just the little things. Sales, they wouldn't sell the tickets for people to come, and conversions, security, all these small operations that people don't think about. We're all part of one team, and we have one goal, and that it's something amazing. You're all going through this miserable long shift together, so it doesn't feel as bad. So that's another great thing about this industry that I love. So continuing on to, you see all your hard work come together. So when you just watch that video, even though you didn't see it, all the little moving parts that was going around, and all the people that were, when the blue lights got finished, there's stuff on the court that we roll off the court that you don't see, and it's so cool to see that happen. And when I watch all the fans come in, sit down, and if they have a T-shirt on their chair, or now these new chair covers, or they have courtside seats and their seat is there and stuff, it's the little things that you have to put in your mind, like, hey, I made this happen, and it's so cool to see it all come together. And with the atmosphere, when fans come in, they really, like I went back to when I did my interview, I told them that the limelight may be inside, but the glamour for me is on the outside, in the parking lot, or in the event level around the arena, not out there with the fans, because that atmosphere, it travels. If it was when we hosted the playoffs 2 years ago, I have never seen a more electrified atmosphere than that night, because it was there were sold out games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. All my coworkers, all the employees, we were all so excited. We got there at 6 a.m. for a 7:30 tip-off game. We were just that excited to be there, and it was like we all had like 4 shots of coffee right then through the whole day. It was amazing. So that atmosphere really is a lot of fun when you're working in sports. You meet incredible people too. Not only my boss and my boss's boss, there's some great people, but some things I've met, I'm going to do some name dropping. Carrie Underwood, I've met the 2 guys from Florida Georgia Line. I met Keith Urban. I've met Adele. I've met, unfortunately, I just met Kendall Jenner. I'm not a huge Jenner fan, so yeah, I'm not a big fan of them, but she was very nice and very kind. So it's just something, it's a small perk people don't think about in this industry, but you will meet these high-end superstars who end up being these just down-to-earth, normal people that you're like, oh, like here comes, like when Blake Griffin, we traded for him and he came in. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Blake Griffin. Like, this is an all-star, man. This is going to be something different. Like Tobias, he was a great guy, and Avery was awesome, and Dre is awesome. But I'm like, it's Blake Griffin, though. He comes in, I introduce myself, and he goes, hey, how's it going, man? And we literally just started talking about the city of Detroit. And he goes, how do you like the new arena? And he was just so down to earth and started asking, like, hey, what's a good place to eat around there? I'm like, well, I don't go out much, but I guarantee you Andre will be able to help you with that. So it's the little things like that. Even though I can't ask for an autograph, I can't ask for like a picture with them. In my mind, I have a huge collection of all these amazing stars that I've got to meet, and it's been a great ride with a lot of these people and all the cool people you meet. So that's another huge, awesome perk. So I'm gonna talk about a little about the bad though. Now, when I get to the ugly, that's when it's gonna get a little fun. The bad is the boring stuff. So obviously, long hours. I mean, I pull a shift of 38 to almost 40 hours. Job's got to get done. You got to do it. You do get a couple naps while laying on some snowsuits or laying on a table, laying in your car. I've slept in my car before during an event because I was so tired. It happens, guys. Be prepared to have long hours. And this goes back to sacrificing. You're going to have to give up a lot. Giving up your sleep. You're going to have to give it up. Typically, games happen when? Nights and weekends, correct? So a lot of your when your friends are going out is when the time you're at work. After you've been at work for the 8 hours they were at work with you, pretty much. So you have to adjust. You're gonna be away from your friends and families, as I talked about previously, and this goes along with the nights and weekends. You're gonna in the long hours. So, all right, the ugly. This is gonna be my favorite part. So I'm gonna talk about fights. So a couple stories at DTE. So I was standing on the perch, the big grass hill at DTE, and all of a sudden I hear over a radio, hey, one guy just got jumped by 6 guys. I'm like, holy cow. So me and my lot manager, we take off running. We're running through the parking lot. It was 11 o'clock at night, pitch black. I'm dodging through traffic, and all of a sudden I just come on a massive group of 12 people just going at a brawl. And I'm like, holy cow, what the heck am I supposed to do? I'm me and one other guy. So what we did is we jumped in the middle, we started pushing people off, and we said, hey, what's going on? What's the issue? One guy got on the wrong bus, and one guy looked at him wrong, and that was it. It was the worst thing ever. It wasn't even like some guy said something, because we hear this all the time. We get multiple calls a night. One guy looked at his girl the wrong way, and they started fighting. I will not lie, guys, alcohol is a horrible, horrible thing. Because once you get a couple beers and 15,000 people and they're all trying to exit DTE at once, you start getting some fights. The worst one that I ever saw, we were right on top of the perch, and all of a sudden I looked down. One girl is grabbing another girl's hair, pulling her through the car and hitting her in the face. I went, holy cow, I got to respond to that. So I ran down there, we got in between. I'm with another manager of mine, and the one woman who was reaching for the other woman, pulling her through the car, bit my employee. She broke the skin and everything like that, and she proceeded to run through the grass lot, stripping her clothes off, screaming, you can't catch me, you can't do this, this is illegal. And I said, ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about. You just bit my employee. I'm gonna take you down. You're not getting away from me. So I did what I did best. I lunged at her legs, knocked her on the ground, and I sat on her. Do what you got to do. She unfortunately was doing stuff that she wasn't supposed to be. Highly intoxicated, so that wasn't a big surprise to me. The most scariest one for me, I was actually at the Palace for Neil Diamond, I believe it was. And all of a sudden, I hear over the radio my employee just got hit. It's a silver Dodge Ram, and it's coming down South Drive. I saw it. I started pounding on the window, said, sir, you need to stop. You just hit my employee. He gives me the finger and kept going. I'm in a suit. So I started sprinting after him, and I had to jump in his moving bed of his truck to get him to finally stop. And then he got out. Someone else got on the side, and I jumped out of the bed, landed on the passenger because they were trying to flee a scene, and held her or him, on the ground until police showed up. So that is some things I didn't think when I went into this industry I would ever see. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to deal with fights. Sure enough, every single night at DT, Meadowbrook or Freedom Hill, or even the Palace, the couple there, I dealt with fights, and it's very, it gets your adrenaline going, and it makes you unfortunately stay up until like 5 in the morning after the night because you're just so amped up from tackling somebody. I'm gonna talk about sick spills now. Something I did not enjoy it. I had multiple young women vomit on me from being so intoxicated. I've had blood spilled onto me from people bleeding out after fights. It's small things like that you guys you don't think you'd ever deal with in the sports industry, but you do. We are CPR certified. You will, in the sports industry, you will have to know this because unfortunately life happens. I once came up onto a incident where a gentleman was very intoxicated, had not taken his blood pressure pills all day, started hyperventilating, started passing out. I got him on the ground, and by the time I got him on the ground and the paramedic showed up, the gentleman passed away on me. So that is also another thing you will not expect happening on you in this industry, guys. And like I said, I'm not trying to scare you away from it. I just want to be completely honest with you guys of what does happen in this industry, and you might see it in your life. Injuries. So we had a couple employees get really injured a couple times. The most recent one I can remember is one of my young employees. She was on our South Drive. A truck would not stop, and it actually, she tried to stop and slamming on the side. She actually got caught in the wheel well, and they drug her about a quarter mile down the road. So that does happen, and she did make it. She did come back to work. I spent all night at the hospital with her because I felt so bad that this just happened to her. But that does happen, guys. So, so there was another one where one of my employees told a car at DT to pull up. The car would not pull up. So he said, "Please, sir, pull up." He thought he was yelling something absurd. The gentleman got out of his car, started attacking my employee, and actually strangled him and took him to the ground while one of my supervisors ran up and jumped on the gentleman's back and choked him out. So unfortunately, we did have to go through a little lawsuit. He tried to sue us. We won because obviously we had countless witnesses around there. But my employee that did get choked did have to go to the hospital and get checked. He did have bruises on his neck for a couple days. So everything you think goes on behind the scenes does, but there's some things you don't know, like all this, the ugly side of sports, as I like to call it, and also, as my boss calls it, the fun side of sports. I don't enjoy it too much, but it is something that happens, guys. But at the end of the day, guys, so these are all coworkers from Ferris to all the way up to the Pistons right now. All these smiling faces, they have all been at end of days, long, long days of rainy days, muddy days, miserable, cold days, but we all had fun at the end of the day because we don't do it for the money. If we did, we would go get better jobs, I promise. We do this because we do it for one another. We do it because when I get out of bed every morning, I know I'm going to a great arena. I know my coworkers are going to be there, and I know I'm going to have a lot of fun with them. So this picture down here in the suits with all the mud, this was actually at Meadowbrook, and they pushed out 48 cars starting at 12 o'clock, and they were there till 3 in the morning pushing cars out, and they still had smiles on their face because they did it together. Going back to the whole, you're going to be a part of a team, this is part of the team that you'll see the most. Obviously, the NBA players are part of the team, but these guys, these smiling faces, these are the ones you're working for, and these are the ones that make things happen. The picture here at Ferris was actually the first year where the football team won the Anchor Bone Trophy back on Ferris's turf after so many years. That day, I remember getting to work with a bunch of them at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we left at 11:30 at night because we were just kind of so excited of closing up the stadium and how amazing of a day it was. I remember it rained on me. I remember stepping all through mud and how cold my socks were, and I hate my socks getting wet. And I loved every second of it. And my buddy Keith in this picture, him and I talk about it all the time about that night, how much fun we had. And John Coles took this picture because he brought it over to us and said, hey guys, you're a part of this team. We just won. You deserve it. Let's have this moment together. So that was so cool for me and everyone and all those workers here. Last thing, the journey. The journey is not going to be straightforward. It's not going to be get a degree, get an internship, get the job. It's going to be you're getting the internship. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to think to yourself, is this really what I want to do? And then you're going to get the first job, and you're going to a month in, you're like, oh my God, I am so overwhelmed. I've worked so many hours this first month of my job. Do I really want to do this? You do. If you really like sports like I do, where all you want to do is talk about sports, all you want to do is look at ESPN, and you want to be a part of an organization that cares about everything that you contribute to them, your journey is going to be long. It's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be bumpy, but it's going to be fun, guys. So if you really want to be in this industry, what I just talked about with the hard work, the dedication, the taking the initiative, that's what it takes to get through your journey. My journey was Ferris, Michigan to the Pistons. Each individual in here, your journey is 100% different. Do not base your journey off mine. Base your work ethic, your dedication off me, but your journey could be, you could go to, as Nick Owens, he went to a grad assistant job out east. He worked with me for 2 years. One of my best friends, I miss him every day, and his journey is 10 times different, even though we started together and we talked about the same things, how we said one day him and I are going to be the head AD and the assistant AD at a university one day together. And here we are, thousands of miles apart. So you guys can't base it off one another. You have to make your own path and your own journey. All right. Any questions? Oh, no questions? Okay. Really, no questions. Nothing. Oh. Dr. A, you got a question? Oh. When do I sleep? No, you know, in between, whenever you can. So on a non-event day, when I get home, I try to get in bed by 9:30, and try to sleep till 5:30 and get much as possible. On a game day, if it's a game day to a non-event day, I will go to bed 3:30, 4 o'clock, and be back to work at 7 a.m. the next day. It's part of the industry, guys. Be prepared to lose sleep. When Ira told me he was up at 5:30 every morning, I said, that will not be me. That will not be me. Here I am. I'm doing it every single day of my life.
You have like an off day? Like you go out like have beer with the body or something?
So we actually just went through the All-Star break weekend. I don't know if all of you guys know that. So this was kind of my downtime. And I got home Friday and went and bought a 12-pack of Labatt Blue and started drinking. That was my downtime. But there's when you do have your days off, so in the summer I typically get 1 day off a week. During the season I get 2 days off. So you never, it's rare. Right now, I had last weekend off, this past weekend off, and this coming weekend off. It's the first time since I started at the Pistons I've had 3 weekends off in a row. And it's amazing. I loved it, but I know it's going to come to an end. So when you get to go hang out with your friends, you really enjoy it. You really have to make time for it. But it's not often. It's not really often. So, someone else had a question there.
I was going to ask if you had a chance to beat Boban.
Oh, I did, yeah. Boban actually is one of the nicest of all the Pistons. When we were at the Palace, he would come in, he would stop, roll down his window and go, I am Piston player, I play for your team. We go, no, Boban, we know who you are. Go ahead. His wife is very nice. His kids are great. Between us, I was really upset that Tobias and Boban were both traded. They were awesome guys to work for and work with. Boban was very funny, though. I don't know if you guys ever see the ESPN First Take of him dancing out in LA after he got traded. That really was him. Like, he was that goofy, gumpy guy and was easy going with. So, yeah, he was. I really, really wish he would come back, but it's not my choice.
Who's more intense, Jim Harbaugh or Sam Van Gundy?
Oh, Harbaugh by 1,000. Oh, man. Van Gundy is intense when it comes to practice and when it's game time. But once he's off the court, away from it, and you're just talking to him, I mean, it's like talking to your uncle. It's real nice. Harbaugh, I mean, it's go, go, go. It's, we got to go down and score right now. Let's go, let's go. And it's like, oh, dude, take a step back. Relax. Anyone else? No? All right. Dr. A?
If there was one thing that you could have done here at Ferris that you didn't get a chance to, what would it be?
Drive the Zamboni here. 100%. I talk to Al Sabaka every day, and I go, when do I get to drive that Zamboni? And he goes, you're not touching my Zamboni. I go, come on. I drive with that Michigan. He goes, that's Michigan. This is the Wings. I said, okay. But yeah, looking back, I haven't told many people this. When John Coles offered me the job in internship, Tim Blashill called me and said, we want you as the next Zamboni driver. And I turned that position down to work with John. So that would probably be my biggest, I wouldn't say regret, but wish I had that opportunity. Yep. No? All right.